Hey, welcome to this live stream. It's cool to see you on. And also, if you're part of the replay crew, let me know where you're coming from. And we're going to jump right in because this is a good one about chords 1, 4, and 5. So in music, chords 1, 4, and 5 are fundamental. They are kind of like the meat and potatoes, as they say in the United States, some places in the US. Of just the basics. They're foundational, they're core ingredients for a delicious sonic dish. But how do you use them? Because a lot of times people think, oh, just the 1, 4, 5 are just three nice chords that sound good together. I'm going to play them so we can hear what they sound like, but also how they're used in songs. So we're going to jump in to some cool use of chords 1, 4, and 5. Now, let's just play them first so you can hear what I'm talking about. Now, if you've been here or been playing the guitar for more than 5 minutes, you will have heard of these chords. And they're really good. They're fundamental. And in the key of D here, for example, we have a D as the 1, and then a G is the 4, and an A major is the 5. And if we just rotated through those chords, D, G, A, or 1, 4, and 5, you could hear probably all sorts of songs coming to mind because there's like a million songs that are based on these chords. But you don't just have to stick to these three chords. We can expand upon these and insert them in strategic and interesting ways to make a song sound really cool. And we're going to go through some examples, like I say. So just to get our bearings on what these chords are, and we've switched keys now to the key of G. And really what the chords 1, 4, and 5 are, they're just based on scale degrees 1, 4, and 5. So if I was to play a G major scale, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, just like this row shows right here, just the single notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To play chords based on those notes, you get a variety of chords like G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, and F sharp diminished, and then G. So it's basically just like the major scale on steroids. Now, if we I meant to play an F sharp diminished like that. So if we were to pick out just three of these chords, like the 1, the 4, and the 5, then they sound good together. So if we skip some of those chords, and we have all of the chords in the key of G major, for example. If we just focus on the 1, 4, and the 5, 1, 4, 5, and then to 1. So we're just kind of like, skipping on a series of stepping stones and just landing on the 1, 4, 5. It sounds really good. 1, 4, 5, back to 1. Now, we could use that as the basis of a song. And like I say, a million songs have done this. A million songwriters have done this. And so we're going to look at why that is, why those three chords sound especially good together. And it's because they're root notes, the 1, the 4, and the 5. In this example, G is the tonic and of G major, C is the tonic of C major, and D is the tonic of D major. Notice that red, orange, and red, and orange are all neighbors in the circle of fifths. The color wheel is analogous to the circle of fifths. It's more than analogous, it's identical. It follows the very same patterns. And so you can see that G, in this case, the 1, is neighbors with or nestled between the 4 and the 5. And so that's why those three chords sound good together. They're harmonically compatible. because they're naturally neighbors. They go well together. Now, it's one thing to, just play the chords, you can just keep playing through them, and that sounds nice. But let's use these chords to come up with a chord progression that sounds good. And the most common chord progression based on the 1-4-5 is the 12-bar blues. Bar is just another name for measure. And so if you count each one of these as a measure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you have 12 measures or 12 bars. And there are a couple of different formulas or chord sequences, chord progressions that are considered the 12-bar blues, but this is a common one. Now, we switched keys to the key of C, but the beautiful thing about music is that any chord can serve as the tonic or the one, and it too is nestled between its neighbors in the circle of fifths. Whereas a moment ago, G was the one, and it was between its 4, C major, and its 5, D major. Now we've rotated the numerals so that C is the 1, and F major is the 4, and G major is the 5. So now we have C, F, G, back to C. So if we play this progression, we have a song like Hound Dog, which is based on the 12-bar blues. So it's, you ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. And then you just repeat. I can never remember the lyrics of songs, so we're just going to do a lot of scat singing in these examples, which is just kind of fancy mumbling. So the Hound Dog progression is just the 1-4-5, 1, 4, 5, and 1. But instead of just cycling through those 3 chords, there's a bit of back and forth. We start with the 1, we go to the 4, we go back to the 1, so there's this harmonic back and forth. Then we go to the 5, the 4, and the 1. So 1, 4, 1, 5, 4, 1. And that basic structure, those 3 basic chords of 1, 4, and 5 are what give the 12-bar blues its appeal. Because again, these chords are harmonically neighbors. They're very compatible, and so they sound good together. Now, like if you got together with your friends, it's just like you hit it off. It's just easy. You pick up where you left off. It's easy. The conversation flows, and it's the same with these chords that are neighbors in the circle of fifths because they're basically related. They're like old friends. Now, in the 1950s, and I talk about this in part 2 of the course, but in the 1950s, a lot of songs were based on the 12-bar blues. So it's basically the foundation of early rock and roll. You've got Rock Around the Clock. You have Blue Suede Shoes, Hound Dog. All sorts of songs are based on the 12-bar blues because the progression is so great and it lends itself to a lot of nice melodies that can ride the waves of that harmonic flow to carry you along into sonic bliss. But the 12-bar blues itself can be kind of limiting. Like I say, the 12-bar blues are like the meat and potatoes, or maybe just the potatoes of a song. So it's like if you had a dish with just potatoes, for me, this looks amazing. Like I could eat mashed potatoes all day long for every single meal, and it's wonderful. But it is kind of limiting. You probably need a little more variety in your diet. And so if we go back to those chords we started with in a key, we kind of trimmed out the minor 2, the minor 3, the minor 6, and the diminished 7. We left those chords out so we could just focus on the core 1-4-5. But there is some value in incorporating those other chords. And so we can bring those chords into a song and still retain that special harmonic relationship between the 1-4-5 and really use that to its fullest value, but also mix it up, bring in some other ingredients. So there are various ways you can do it. And using the meat and potatoes metaphor, let's say that the 145, like in this case, they just put a little bit of garnish on there, but they did add some other stuff to chew on, some other interesting harmonic chords. And we're going to, like I say, go through a couple of examples. So this isn't just some abstract analogy. you'll hear the examples. In this case, they still have the 145. It's still a main part of this meal, but they have, what is this, like stuffing on the side, but they put a little gravy instead of garnish. So there's a little variety there. In this case, we've got some gravy. We've got, what is that? That cranberry sauce. So this looks like it's a holiday meal. You've got some stuffing. You've got some turkey. And in this case, we've got some like steak and some mashed potatoes. We've still got the 145 here. And we've got some broccoli or asparagus, whatever that is. So we're going to take a couple of song examples and see how the 145, like I say, still plays a key role, but we mix it up and we incorporate other chords. Now, the next song was actually one that we looked at last week, which is the song Hey Jude. And we kind of talked about this a little bit, but I want to use this as a contrast to the next song so you can see how interesting you can make it with these chords. So here we have basically the verse section of Hey Jude is just 145. It's not a 12-bar blues, so it's not the same chord progression as we just saw in Hound Dog, for example, but it is. It's just 1, in this case 5, and then it comes back to 1, and then 4, 1, 5, or 5, and 1. So it's the 145. I didn't circle that 5 for some reason. So this is the 1, 4, and 5. So the song starts out, to use our metaphor, with mashed potatoes. And then it gets into the chorus, this is where we start getting cranberry sauce. We get the asparagus and we add some gravy and some meat to give it a little more flavor, right? So we're going to erase my lines, and I'm going to play through this song so you can hear it. So it's, Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let it run through your heart. And then the chorus repeats, and then it gets into, and anytime you feel the pain, anytime you feel the pain, you pray to carry the world upon your shoulder. So it gets into that more harmonic movement in the chorus, which is, a 1 to a 4. So we're still sticking with those 2 main chords from that. And then we get into the 6, the 2, the 2, 7, and the 5. So really it's just these 3 chords that add that cranberry sauce, that add that variety enough to make the song deviate from the ever-pleasing, but also potentially limiting chords of the 145. So this song is, like I say, we've got the 145 in the verse. Oops, that's supposed to be a 4 and the 5 in the verse, and then we get the other stuff in the chorus. So let's say that I talked about the cranberry sauce, so we'll say that Hey Jude is this dish, right? Now let's look at another song by the Beatles, and it is Across the Universe. And so there was always this back and forth between John Lennon and Paul McCartney where they were super competitive, where, John Lennon, let's see, I can't remember which one came first. John Lennon, I think, wrote Strawberry Fields, and then Paul McCartney came back and wrote Penny Lane because he's like, I have to up my game. Like, that was amazing. Or it was vice versa. Either way, they always did that. They were always one-upping the other to just see who could come up with something great. And they always did come up with something great, in my opinion. And a lot of the time they used the 1-4-5 at different points in their, to use the cooking metaphor, in their dish making process, in their cooking process. They always kind of went, hey, you know, the 1-4-5 is a really great ingredient. Let's not just like toss that out completely. It makes for a really good meal. So in this case, Across the Universe does something interesting where the verse section is like where we have the gravy and the asparagus and the stuffing. But then he's like, all right, I'm gonna come to, in the chorus, I'm gonna come to the 1-4-5 here. So it's like the reverse of Hey Jude, where Hey Jude was, and these songs I believe were around the same time. I don't know that they necessarily influenced each other, but Hey Jude has a 1-4-5 in the verse, other songs in the chorus. John Lennon in Across the Universe does a reversal of that. He has more harmonic movement in the verse section, and then comes to the 1-4-5 in the chorus. The chorus is a 1, a 5, a 4, and a 1. So just like in Hey Jude, it goes to that 1-5 instead of a 1-4. So in this case, this song is, let's see, we got, and then words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper. They slither while they, as they slip away across the universe. Like a restless wind inside a letterbox, it tumbles blindly, or possessing and caressing me. And then it goes into the chorus. So that verse section, just to kind of break that down a little bit. So the verse section is a 1. So we're in the key of D. So D major is the tonic. Let me zoom in on this. And then it goes to a minor 6. So that change right out of the gate is really satisfying. It's a 1 to a minor 6 to a minor 3, an F sharp minor, which even just that is like, whoa. I mean, it's definitely, there's more harmonic nuance than, say, in Hound Dog, right? Hound Dog, if it was just the 1-4-5, sounds nice, but to go, it's like, whoa, that's on a next level. And it's because there's this harmonic movement right out of the gate. Now he's going to come back to the 1-4-5 in the chorus. But anyway, it's a 1, 6, 3, and then a minor 2. So that 5. And it's a minor 2-7. So instead of just an E minor, you have that. So we're adding that D note. That minor 7 gives it an especially nice quality. So words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither while they, as they slip away. And so we're back to that 5. So I'm at this point in the progression. And then that second line is just repeats it. 1, 6, 3, 2. And then it goes to this really interesting minor 4 chord, which is borrowed from the harmonic minor. So just to look at this in the key of D. So if we look at the key of D, we have 1, 6. So in D Ionian, so D major, the 1 is the tonic here. So 1, 6, 3, 2, and then it goes to the 5. So everything is within Ionian. Like we've broken beyond the bounds of just the 1-4-5. The 1-4-5 are in this inner ring. And so if it was just Hound Dog, you'd just stay right here. But John's like, you know what? I'm going to venture into these more dissonant harmonies, which are in the middle ring, minor chords. There are no diminished chords in this case, but you get minor chords. So it's a 1, 6, 3, 2, 5, 1. And then he repeats it. 1, 6, 3, 2, And then instead of going to the 5, he goes to, and not to the 4, he goes to a minor 4 over here, which is in D. If D minor was the tonic or a minor 1, then it's the minor 4 from over there. It's a parallel mode. And I actually just finished 20 minutes ago drafting lesson 19, which I'm really excited about. And I talk about all of this there in terms of modal mixture and borrowing chords from other areas of the circle of fifths. But that's what's going on here. Is this minor 4 chord came from the parallel D Aeolian. And then in the chorus, he's like, you know what? That was some great. John Lennon was like, you know what? That's some great harmonic movement. Now let's just kind of like nestle in and get comfy with this 1-4-5 because you can't go wrong. And then we'll get back into the other part of the chord progression with that harmonic movement in another verse. So what that looks like is, let's see, is it this one? Yeah. So let me just play I'll play this second part of the verse, and then we'll get into the chorus. So it's you can tell that chord, that G minor, is from somewhere outside the key, and it's from the parallel D Aeolian. And then we go into the chorus, which is straight up 1-4-5. Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world. So on that 5, and then to a 4, G major, the 4, back to the 1. So it's just sounds really good. It's super basic, but of course the melody gives it like way more harmonic interest than like a basic 12-bar blues. And the melody is also coming off of this amazing verse. And so it kind of already was like on this trajectory of excellence because it was like already in motion from this cool chord progression in the verse. But then it comes back to the chorus. So I love this song, and it is an excellent example of an interesting and beautiful use of the 1-4-5. So in this case, it was another dish, but the mashed potatoes, to use our metaphor, the 1-4-5 came after the verse, as opposed to Hey Jude, which used a different approach, but in essence, kind of the same ingredients. So in the verse, the 1-4-5 comes first. So it's kind of that, hey Jude, don't make it bad. It's like almost sounds like a lullaby. It's a very soothing melody. And then you get into some harmonic movement in the chorus. The reverse is true with Across the Universe. Across the Universe starts with this harmonic movement and then gets into almost kind of like a lullaby, the Jao, if I'm saying it right, Jao Guru Deva Om. So opposite use of these chords, but the 1, 4, and the 5 make up a major portion of the song in both verse in Hey Jude and the chorus in Across the Universe. Now, not always is the 1-4-5 used so cleanly. Like the 1, 4, and the 5 can show up in any section of a song, and they don't have to be just purely 1, 4, and 5. They can be interspersed with other chords to make interesting progressions. But if you're like, you know what, I need to kind of like just make sure that this melody sounds good. I need to make sure that this song section sounds great. The 1, the 4, and the 5 together in a given key really won't let you down. They sound really good. And again, it's because they're harmonic neighbors in the circle of fifths. They're harmonically related, they're compatible, and they just lend themselves to great chord progressions and by extension also great melodies. So the 1, 4, and 5, that is in my opinion, some really cool examples of the 145. Like I say, you've got Hound Dog. You have pretty much every song by Little Richard. They all sound great. Golly Miss Molly, like the 145 is awesome. But to break beyond the basic bounds of the 145, you can make some really interesting things without throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like you don't have to abandon them altogether, but you can expand beyond them. So that was it in a nutshell. Maybe we can jump into some comments if there's anything to geek out about with you. Chris Williams, Radiohead. I like Radiohead. What do you think of Radiohead? They have some really good music and one of the best band names ever, in my opinion, which I think was inspired by Talking Heads, a song by them. So Keen Music, hey Keen Music, it's cool to see you on. So DGA sounds like that one Abba song, There's Nothing We Can Do. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, yeah. You know what? Abba has some really good songs as well. I'm glad you bring up Abba, and I don't know how you came up with the backwards B there. That was awesome. We'll have to do some ABBA songs here coming up. Johnny Appleseed, King Music, Knowing Me, Knowing You is the ABBA song. Right on. Knowing Me, Knowing You. I can't deny the fact that ABBA has some excellent songs. I mean, they have, speaking of chord progressions, some really, really good chord progressions. And some really good stage costumes as well. I think a lot of people can't see past the stage costumes. And so they think, they dismiss ABBA just based on the glitter alone. But man, they have some really good stuff. Chris Williams, Campfire music. Yeah, the 145 is the basis of Campfire songs as well. And like I say, you can't go wrong with the 145. Also, the 1, 4, and the 5, speaking of that, are, let's say that you have, a 1, so I'm in the key of C. So 1, 4, 5. If you were to just add one chord to that mix, so you've got 1, 5, 6, 4. So it's just a minor 6. So in let's say we're in the key of C. I'm going to rotate this to the key of C. And if you were just to stick with the 1, 4, 5, but just reach out into this minor 6, so it's just a 1, 5, 6, 4. You get the with or without you, with or without you, I can't live with or without you. And that could make for some good campfire songs as well, depending on who you're camping with and if you really want to, be singing love songs. That could that minor chord takes Hound Dog and turns it into With or Without You into a love song just with one minor chord. Keen Music, They Might Be Giants song New York City Factory Showroom goes 1, 6, 4, 5. So it's 1, 6, 4, 5. Oh, that's cool. So it's basically, instead of playing like I just played with the With or Without You, so instead of 1, 5, 6, 4, you go 1, 6, 4, 5. I don't know how to do that right. No, 1, 6, 4, 5. So in this example, instead of going 1, 5, 6, 4, you go, what was it? 1, 6, 4, 5. And that's the cool thing about these chords is you can come up with different combinations, different permutations of these patterns. And again, they're going to sound compatible because they come from the same harmonic set. They're a compatible chord set because they're derived from the same underlying scale. That's cool. That's a good example. Dead Strings, cool to see you on. So I like songs that have a melancholy vibe. That being said, what are some basic minor chord progressions that can draw a tear? I like that. So with this, so these examples we're talking, that's a great question, by the way. So, and you know what? I'm actually drawn to a minor key myself. So, and I'll be getting into this more in some upcoming videos. But the cool thing about this on the chord map is you can just kind of like a dial rotate into parallel modes and along the modal spectrum and shift into, for example, the Aeolian mode. So these are where the tiers you start getting some waterworks here in this area. You have much brighter sounding modes up here. Lydian, Mixolydian, or Lydian, Ionian, and Mixolydian are more uplifting, more upbeat. But as you start getting into Dorian and certainly into Aeolian and Phrygian, you start getting more of a melancholy vibe, as you say. So in Aeolian, for example, we could just kind of play around with chord patterns there. So let's see. Let's play C minor, E flat major, so C minor, E flat major, B flat major, A flat major. So I'm just playing, I just kind of went for it. So C minor to a flat major 3 to a, what was it, a flat major 7 to a flat major 6. I could play a minor 4 to a G minor. So you can tell like it has more of a melancholy. I don't know if I've made you cry yet, but if you kind of play around with those chords. It has to do with the mode. So lesson 18, is it lesson 18 of the course that I'm going to be publishing soon here, is about modes. And so it explains like how you can like come up with these different permutations of the chords to create the emotional effect that you're going for. And you can play around with that. I'm in the key of C, but I could change it and be like, you know what, I want to be in the key of F, and I want to play F Aeolian. And so that gives you the chords. Music is symmetrical and consistent. And so I could find those chords for that key in that mode and for any key and mode you want. Yeah, that's a great question. So the 1-4-5. Now, the 1-4-5 are based on the Ionian mode, which is the major key. So now that we're with F as the one, F Ionian, the 1-4-5 you'll notice is in the grouping of Ionian, which is a fancy name for the major key. And I'll explain more about where these Greek terms come from. Basically, they're just references to ancient regions of ancient Greece. But the 1, 4, and the 5 are grouped together in Ionian. Like if I switched to Mixolydian, we have different chords. These chords actually show up in Hey Jude in the outro. And so when we talk about the 1-4-5, it is assuming that we're in a major key, or also known as Ionian. And the Ionian mode is the foundation of the examples we had here: Hound Dog, Hey Jude, and what was it? Across the Universe. Although we do in the case of Hey Jude and Across the Universe, we get a couple of borrowed chords that come from those more melancholy type modes that are parallel. And like I say, we'll be getting in parallel modes and geeking out about that in crazy depth coming up as I roll that out. So yeah, that's basically some I think fun examples of the 1-4-5, how to use them, how to build delicious sonic meals based on these chords. And to the question about modes and chord progressions and other modes, we'll definitely be diving into those in much more depth. So that is it for this live stream. Thank you for geeking out with me, and we'll be talking very soon. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and make some music in the meantime. We'll see you. Bye.